What's up guys, it's Pliskin here and welcome to part 3, the final part of how I would make Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, we've talked about the gameplay, we've talked about the story, however you'll notice that in both of those videos I gloss over Motherbase. That is because Motherbase was such an integral point of what built up hype when the Phantom Pain was coming out. I would watch trailers of Motherbase and hear promises of how you will be able to customize it however you want. Every player will know their Motherbase like the back of their hand and it will be completely different from other players. And all that turned out to be bullshit. Motherbase ended up being a generic, preset, empty environment with very little things to do outside of the occasional Easter egg and a very tacked on shooting range mode. And that's why I've saved this for last. I want to tackle Motherbase in a way that I feel would be feasible, but still much more fulfilling than what we got in game. So let's get right on into it. When talking about Motherbase, the first thing we need to address is the Idroid. The Idroid is an integral part of the existing Metal Gear Solid 5. You manage your base, you manage your troops, you manage your resources, you manage the development of things. Everything in this little menu. And while I understand the idea behind the convenience of being able to manage your base from the field, I feel this is at the core of what strips Motherbase from its personality, from its humanity. Because while yes, it might be convenient for me to be out in the field and develop a new weapon and have it be shipped directly to me while I'm already in the game world, it really begs the question, what's the point of even having this base besides set dressing and a place where cutscenes can happen? So I'm gonna start this off with a potentially controversial choice of removing the Idroid. At this point you might be thinking, Pliskin, what are you thinking? This is a core part of the game. Like, how are you gonna manage your base? How are you gonna do all these things? And I think there's a much better way to get this done. Perhaps less convenient, but more so engaging. See, when I play a game, I really like it when every element of the game is something to play with, even menus. There needs to be an element of personality and style to the littlest things. There's a reason why people remember the Xbox and PlayStation 2 startups and ambient system menus and gloss over the current Xbox and PlayStation menus today. There's something special when you put effort into the smallest of details and make it all feel like an interconnected, interactive experience. So let me just break this down in an incredibly simple way. You want to develop something at base, you need to first discover it in the world, bring it back to base, have your R&D team study it, and then it will be developed for you. I want this to be the case for everything. A gun, an anti-air system, a healing item, an outfit, a certain kind of supply. Whatever it is, I just always want you to have to go into the world to find the things you're going to develop. I hate the grindy system of waiting until you reach a certain number and then boom, this thing that you can develop just shows up. No. None of that. You want to have better armor for your helicopter? Find it in the open world. You want to have a better optic on your gun? Find it in the open world. Not only will this make the development of items and weapons much more interesting, but it adds another layer of exploration to the open world and adds replayability for people that might have just gone through a starter world like the Afghanistan map we talked about previously very quickly and just focused on the story. There's a reason to go back there now because, oh, there is an anti-air turret that I could have picked up that would help with the Solidus section when he's attacking Motherbase. Or, oh, there is a plant there that can be used to make a really super effective healing item. So now that the idea of development is kind of much more connected with the open world, the next biggest issue becomes, how do you give the orders? Now, I don't just want you to have to find things in the open world, but people. And while, yeah, you might be saying, Pliskin, you already do that. You're constantly looking at soldiers, their ranks, and bring them back to base. I don't really like that. I don't like how every soldier just becomes a number. I mean, there's sort of like a meta thing to it, but I think I can do better. So what I would want is you're still able to fold in different soldiers and stuff like that to build up your core ranks. However, when it comes to things that bolster your development cycle, I want you to have to find specific people. Maybe these will be people that Cause will tag in the open world and be like, hey, this is what you need to go after, or maybe you just stumble across them. So, for example, I don't want to go through the open world and have to look for S-rank soldiers to update my R&D department. I want to be infiltrating one of Skullface's facilities and find, let's inject some sex appeal here. Let's say we find a big titty, clumsy, glasses wearing scientist that's really good at developing weapons technology and mechs. Kind of like Huey if he wasn't just terrible. So you find this person in the open world, you bring them back to your base, and now that they are there, after you get the certain items that they might request or tell you about in the open world, you have to fly back to base, meet with them, talk with them, and order or commission certain things to be developed. So you take that menu and you bring in a character, and then you need to interact with that character who tells you to interact more with the open world to develop things that you want to develop instead of just playing a numbers game. Another example could be, let's say maybe you're in Africa and you find a herbalist in the wild. His passion is plants and food and the different mixtures and the things that they can do. You bring him back to base and he'll tell you about certain plants in Afghanistan, in Africa, maybe even the tundra map, and be like, hey, if you bring these back, I can upgrade your rations, I can upgrade certain healing items, or just generally give you buffs. Again, it's going to be that same system of you find this person in the open world, you bring them to base, you meet them at base, they tell you about things in the world, you go back to that world, find the things they need, bring it to that person, and then it can be made. None of this boring numbers game. I want this system to be character driven. And I started with the whole development and extraction element of Motherbase because I feel like this really exemplifies what I want Motherbase to be. Character driven. And I want this character to extend to the rooms and environments on Motherbase, so now we're going to talk about that. You know how for both Quiet and Pause, and I think even Huey, they have like their own little like chibi icons? Okay, I want like every character you bring back to your base to have one of these icons with them. I want them to have their own dedicated room and space. You know, there's like an area on Motherbase where there's a bunch of plants growing. Maybe that's where the herbalist is going to be chilling out. You know how there's this like big weird like technology antenna dome thing that kind of looks like what is that thing from X-Men? Fucking Cerebro. Like, let's have a character that's really good with communications and scouting, and that's their area where they're at. Give these rooms purpose and character by having them inhabited by characters that will do more than just salute you and go, oh, thanks for saving those animals, boss. Like, fuck that. But it's much more than just having these characters inhabit cool-looking areas. There's certain systems within Motherbase that should have their own rooms dedicated to them. Like, for example, let's talk about overhauling the shower room. This should be a cool idea, right? You come back to base, you have the dirt, the grime, the blood from the field, you take a shower, and you feel refreshed. There should be little events that happen in there, like maybe, I don't know, you hear a conversation between Motherbase soldiers about shit that's going on in there. Maybe like you get to see Venom Snake's arm and get a reminder of the phantom pain he's feeling by having to detach your mechanical arm. I don't know, maybe something funny happens. Like, remember the Ground Zeroes and Peace Walker like cassette tapes talking about the shower fight between Big Boss and Miller? Maybe you get something like that happening. Maybe you have to break up fights. I don't know, maybe there's like some weird sexy situations if you spend enough time with certain characters, like that scientist we talked about, or maybe even Quiet, or the Pause clone. Like, maybe like you can like make it steamy, like make it exciting. But like maybe on a much less horny example, we can talk about overhauling Venom Snake's room. You see, in the game it's just the chopper. Now the chopper has like all these little pictures around it that give like an impression or an implication of Venom Snake's personality, but like, why don't we give Venom Snake a room? See those pictures like hung up in much the same way you can visit Pause's room? Let's have different characters have their own rooms, and let's not bar them off from the character like with Quiet. I like how with Pause, even if you don't have a photograph to give her to like jog her memory, you can still pick up a book she drops. Have it with like Quiet if you don't have like a cassette tape to go bring her, and have her react to different music. Maybe if you don't have anything, you can just come by and the two of you can like watch the sunset, or I don't know, walk around the base. Maybe with that guy who works on all like the plants and the ration upgrades, you can like bring him different like plants for him to react to. But if you don't have one, you'll just come in there and he'll like talk to you about a certain plant that he has and he's really interested in. Maybe that like glasses doctor lady really likes animals on the side, so if you don't have any weapons to bring in, you can like walk around with her at the zoo. Make it special events, have like different like small little interactions. It really doesn't need to be much. It could literally just be me pressing triangle, and if I don't have an object of interest, a little exposition dump from them, or a small exchange between them and Snake. Or again, maybe it could be something bigger. I press triangle and I trigger an event where we go to the zoo and I just hear more about them as a person. Like, let me get to know these faces at Motherbase, because while everyone might have a face here, they really have no personality. And again, tying it back to rooms, the zoo, certain platforms where you can see the sunset, or certain areas could serve purposes for special events where you hang out with people. Maybe Ocelot is the guy running the combat platform and training guys, so you can go over there and practice your CQZ rather than just beating up random people on base. Have like a dedicated like mini game or tutorial area. Like just imagine if instead of you had that weird little pissing contest with Eli after you brought him back to base where you just repeat his boss fight on a platform. Imagine if you go over to the combat platform at certain points and there's no soldiers actively training, you and Ocelot can have little competitions. Maybe he wants to see if you can do a perfect parry. Maybe he wants to see how quick you can aim at targets and if you can beat his time. Have little dialogue exchanges based on that. Like, there's just so much you can do with these areas, the characters that already exist, and newer characters that you don't even really need to make a big deal out of. That doctor lady can literally just be a doctor that likes animals on the side. That plant guy could just be a plant guy that really likes food on the side. Like, just the bare minimum can be done with Motherbase and make it so much better. And having all of these characters and all of these rooms that actually matter will have an impact when Solidus is attacking you in Act 2. If any of these people have their systems damaged, they can't do the role that you need them to do, and you need to go into the open world and find certain things to repair, which incentivizes you to go and find more anti-air vehicles, turrets, and that kind of stuff. Like, when Motherbase gets attacked, you'll actually care, because what if one of these characters die? Like, there's something there to lose. With Pause, with the Doctor, with the Food Guy, with Ocelot, and all the people that you bring there and all the characters that get built up. Again, you can literally do the bare minimum with character development. Just make these people likable, make them all about their own gimmick or hobby, and having their lives be threatened will be so much worse than just, during this outbreak, certain people died, and it's just like a numbers game. Staff member has died. Staff member has died. Staff member has died. Like, we can do better with this. Simple characters, dedicated rooms, smaller dialogue exchanges, and bigger character events at certain times that you come back to base. It gives you a reason to want to come back, it gives you a better reason to go out into the world and look for all these niche items to upgrade your shit, and it'll just make Motherbase part of the game rather than just a backdrop for listening to random cassette tapes. So yeah, this is the point I really wanted to make with this entire series. Just Metal Gear is at its best when it has personality. And I just want to inject personality into the game. And I feel Motherbase could have been and should have been the core of the Metal Gear Solid 5 experience. The reason why you go and loot, the reason why you fear enemy retaliation could have been done if you just injected a little more human elements. Anyways, this has been Pliskin, and I'm gonna go get ready because we clearly have a lot to talk about now. Over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.